Thank you, Dr. Westrom. Okay, the next speaker is John Smart, co author of the amazing book, Sooner, Safer, Happier. The book right over my right shoulder here. I love this book, and it does such a splendid job in capturing so many of the principles and practices he's developed over the years. It was informed so much by his lessons learned leading the ways of working at Barclays, a bank founded in the year 1635, which actually predates the invention of paper cash. We've heard so many problem statements being voiced by this community about problems being encountered during the OKR planning process. So John has some pretty brilliant observations on what makes for good OKRs versus what makes for bad OKRs, and some incredibly practical advice. I'm a huge fan of John's work, and I think this might be some of his best work yet. So here's John.
Hi, my name's John Smart, and I'm going to talk today about OKRs, lessons learnt in the implementation of OKRs, around okay OKRs and not okay OKRs, and the 3 M's, which are mindset, mission, and measurement. First of all, we will take a look at what are OKRs. We'll then have a look at the anti-patterns and patterns, the lessons learned the hard way. So the patterns are the okay OKRs and the anti-patterns are the not okay OKRs. These are, like I said, lessons learned the hard way. I have experience of implementing OKRs across tens of thousands of people with multiple business units and thousands of products, as well as supporting organizations across different industry sectors in their adoption of OKRs. We will then take a look at OKR alignment. And in particular, this is relevant when you get into size, scale, and complexity. So how OKRs align. And we will take a look at how to get started or how to get restarted. But before we do that, let's take a look at the rising popularity of OKRs. Taking a look on Google Trends, I looked at the number of searches for the term OKR and the number of searches for the term balanced scorecard. Interestingly, around about the middle to the end of 2018, there was that tipping point where OKR became a more searched term than balanced scorecard. Also, what surprised me, pleasantly surprised me, is that there are now more searches for the term OKR than there are for portfolio management. And again, that tipping point was towards the end of 2018. So, pretty recently, we see this shift in consciousness around adopting OKRs. And I'm sure it's absolutely no coincidence that the rise in the trend there coincides with the DevOps Enterprise Summit, London and Las Vegas. A symptom of the hype cycle around OKRs, if you type in OKR certification into a search engine of your choice, you'll get pages back of organizations who will very happily take your money to make you a COP, a certified OKR practitioner. So first of all, what are OKRs? OKRs are objectives and key results. And there are 3 M's for OKRs. I like to think about them with the 3 M's. They're all equally important. The first M is mindset. And this is having an emergent mindset over a deterministic mindset. This is acknowledging that the future is unknowable. And it's also adopting a stance of empowerment, but also taking empowerment. Second M is mission. This is the objective, and this is outcome over output. And it should be both inspirational and aspirational. The icon on the left there is a flag, and effectively this is planting a flag at a point in the future for teams to then experiment as to how to best achieve that goal, that target, that mission. And then finally, the third M is measurement. And this should be measuring movement and behavior. So these are the key results. And if you're not measuring movement and behavior, you don't know whether you're actually going to achieve your outcome. You don't know if you're making progress. In particular, behavior. If behavior doesn't change, you're going to get the same outcomes. So there has to be a change in human behavior to have a change in outcome. And there should be leading and lagging measures. If there aren't any leading measures, again, it's like you're flying blind. you've got no idea if you're making progress on your desired outcome. The better your leading measures, the more agility you can have to be able to pivot. When we look at the history of OKRs, so OKRs came from MBOs, management by objective. MBOs came from Peter Drucker, who wrote about them in 1954. And management by objective has been the almost universal way that organizations, large organizations, have organized what work gets done. So the characteristics of management by objectives, they are top-down. They are generally focused on output and tasks. They are static, typically annual. They are private and siloed. Typically, the objectives are tied into your performance appraisal. They're in the performance appraisal system. So, of course, they're private. They're not available for people to see in that context. And because they're tied to your performance appraisal, your pay, and everything else, they tend to be risk averse. It tends to be a case of shooting for mediocrity because you'd rather under-promise to be able to over-deliver. And finally, the prevailing cultural norm is one of command and control and benevolent dictatorships, where the objectives are handed down from the managers to the workers. That tends to be the norm, and that tends to be the starting point. So in terms of OKRs, it's Andy Grove at Intel who took MBOs and he evolved them into what today we know as OKRs. He called them IMBOs, Intel MBOs. John Doerr worked with Andy Grove at Intel.